Hi, my name is Carlos, and I'll present the paper Readability and Understandability Scores for Snippet Assessment and Exploratory Study. I'll show a short motivation about our work. Consider the following user query. Find maximum element of array list in Java. And we have three different answers from Google, Microsoft Bing, and Crockett approaches. Consider the main differences inside the red boxes of each approach. Google and Crockett recommends the top 1 code snippets using the collection's Max Java internal API. But Microsoft Bing recommends the top 1 code snippet using a for loop and if condition, which leads a lower understandability score than Google and Crockett code snippets. In the readability score, Google Code Snippet has a higher score than Microsoft Bing and Crockett Code Snippets, although Google and Crockett both have similar code snippet structure. This difference leads questions about the usability of these metrics on the code snippet comprehension assessment. That is, if developers' perception of code snippet comprehension match these differences in the scores. And then we propose the following research question. To what extent the readability and understandability metric scores can be used to code snippet assessment? We shared our entire state design, that is, source code, scripts, and results as a replication package into a repository inside the GitHub. Our study design consists in 4 steps, and we will talk about each step on the next slides. First, we collected the most popular 30 Java queries performed on Crockett tool. Crockett is a tool that provides code snippets and explanations mined from Stack Overflow and received more than 10,000 queries from 80 countries around the world. Second, we extracted 2 code snippets from each Java query collected in the first step. We extracted these snippets from Google and Crockett using private window or anonymous browsing to avoid caches or user history. We added the tokens in Java into each Java query to force Google to return the top ranked web pages with code snippet written in Java. Third, we collected the readability and understandability scores for each 60 code snippets from 30 queries. We used the Scalabrino readability metric tool that is used in other recent researches to rank readable code snippets in code search engines. And for understandability score, we used the cognitive complexity metric that is available in the Sonar tool and also has been used in some recent researches. And then we asked for 5 Java senior developers to analyze the 2 code snippets for each query side by side. These developers are experienced in evaluate pull requests written by other developers, which leads an interesting point because they usually reject source code with low comprehension level. And we made a survey with Likert evaluation from 1 to 5, where 1 means the lowest comprehension level as possible for the code snippet, and 5 means the highest comprehension level. We separate the 30 queries in 3 groups with 10 queries each, where the first group has 10 queries with higher readability in one code snippet, and the same understandability for both. The other group has 10 queries with higher understandability in one code snippet and similar readability for both. And finally, the last group has 10 queries with higher both readability and understandability in one code snippet. In the results, we found that the readability score matched the developer's perception on code comprehension. That is, the code snippets with higher readability score received better leaked evaluation from developers, as we can see on the first and last box plot. The statistical test with p-value and effect size confirms our findings. But we can't say the same about understandability because some code snippets with lower understandability score received the same or even better leaked evaluation from developers, as we can see in the box plot in the middle at and the statistical test with p-value and effect size. To understand the reason because better understandability scores didn't receive better evaluation from developers, we performed a qualitative analysis between each query and their code snippets, and we found some interesting results. In general, the code snippets with a little difference in understandability score does not make impact on the developer's evaluation. In this query, the code snippet 1 has worst understandability score because it has an additional for loop, but the developers considered this code snippet as more comprehensive than the code snippet 2 that does not contain any loop and worst understandability and best understandability score. But in this next example, the code snippet with better understandability score received a better evaluation from developers. There is a large difference in understandability score because the first code snippet uses nested loops. In this scenario, the developers has a preference for code snippets without nested loops, even if the code snippet has far more lines of code, as we can see in this example. This is an interesting lesson because readability score difference sounds okay in general, but understandability sounds okay only if we find big difference in the scores. The developers apparently does not care if a code snippet has only an additional loop or condition. And in final step of the survey, we made an open question asking the main code snippets characteristics that take into their comprehensive evaluation. Many of the mentioned characteristics matched understandability and readability concept metrics, as, for example, complexity, variable and method aspects, comments, but it was interesting to see their attention to readability aspects, that is, simplicity, clarity, and self-document source code without comments, auto-explainative source code. In the conclusions, readability score is an interesting metric for code search engines to code snippet assessment, as has been used in practice. For understandability, we need more studies to have a better characterization of the score differences that brings a real difference on developers' perception. And finally, these results lead some interesting research to the future, as produces an unified score with more metrics to improve code search engines for code snippet assessment. Thank you very much for your attention.